how does cybersecurity tech relate to the labour market?
So I think, like cybersecurity relates to everything. So in my department, we have a theory called everyday security, and that's looking at cybersecurity with everyday life. For example, with smart homes, if you had like normal keys, you would change your locks if you broke up with a partner. Unfortunately, with IoT, it's voice recognition, and most people forget to change that voice function when they break up with their partner because they assume that the security is always there. It's that, cybersecurity is very broad, and I look at the human aspect of cybersecurity, which is a niche field, but it's looking at the impact of technology on humans.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. In today's video, I have the wonderful PhD student, Stephanie. She has been working in cybersecurity and information security. I came across her profile on Clubhouse a while ago in the Clubhouse Tech Talks, and I was really excited. I had to have her here on my channel. So Stephanie, I would like you to introduce yourself and what it is you do.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTube. My name is Stephanie Timmy. I am the founder of SEDIA. So that's an organization focused on helping Black and minority ethnic women into cybersecurity. And I'm also a PhD student in information security at Royal Holloway. So that's pretty much my current play at the moment.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about what it is you do, about the group that you founded to help women sort of get into tech, and also your PhD? So what is your PhD focus?
All right, definitely. So with SEDIA, how we help women like transition. So we focus on the early stage, and we, from our members, you're like either graduates or transitioners, so women who already have experience and now they want to enter the field. And we do that through coaching. So sometimes, a lot of women, I think cybersecurity is one of those industries that's quite misunderstood. No one really knows where to start. So what we do with our coaching sessions is that we have two. So we have the first one, which is the cybersecurity roadmap. And then we run you through the different domains within cybersecurity. We look at your skills and tell you, okay, based on X, Y, and Z, we think these industries will be great for you. And then we create like a strategy plan on how you can actually get into that field. We also do events with industry experts. So we get experts to come and talk about either the experience or like really niche areas, or even workshop and skills, kind of help you on that upskilling aspect. And we also do virtual internships with companies looking to get, more diverse clients. We have a job board which we update every month, and those jobs tend to be either early stage, so entry-level jobs, or mid-level jobs. And very soon we actually have scholarships coming in to kind of help women get those cybersecurity certifications. So that's majority of what we do with SEDIA. We try to look at the holistic aspects about how we can get you in the industry, whether it's through certifications, coaching, job board, or recruitment. And with my PhD, funny enough, I'm interested in the labor markets. So my background is actually economics. So for my undergrad, I focused on the informal sector. For my master's, I focused more on like online and digital markets. And now I'm looking at different labor groups. So I'm in my first year, which means, I'm still kind of like learning, experiencing things. So for my winter project, I focused on the gig economy. And right now for my summer project, I'm looking at domestic workers in Nigeria and looking at their privacy issues. And then my hope is next year that I kind of like focus my PhD on one of the labor markets that has majority of migrant workers within those fields. But for now, because it's my first year, it's quite vague. So I don't want to like say anything too soon because I don't know how it's going to be. But that's pretty much where I am with my PhD at the moment.
Okay, exciting. So how does cybersecurity tech relate to the labor market?
So I think, like cybersecurity relates to everything. So in my department, we have a theory called everyday security, and that's looking at cybersecurity with everyday life, whether that's people at home, and how does IoT influence? I think recently I did a work on how does IoT influence domestic violence. For
Okay.
example, with smart homes, if you had like normal keys, you would change your locks if you broke up with a partner.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with IoT, it's voice recognition, and most people forget to change that voice function when they break up with their partner because they assume that the security is always there. And some of the partners can actually abuse that or exploit it by coming into your house, and all sorts of things can happen. So that's again relating how IoT can affect with domestic workers, not domestic workers, with domestic violence. Now, when I'm looking now at gig economy, it's more with delivery workers. They are surveilled all the time. Their location is constantly being reviewed by their employers. So it's looking, how do people feel about constantly being monitored and constantly having to fit a time frame of, time you have to get to a particular place. So it's looking at, that concept of privacy intrusion, and what are the psychological effects, what are the physical effects. And we also have this thing called ontological security, which is your well-being, and it looks at all sorts of things. And I think, going back into my background in economics, I also look at income security. A lot of people, although they're monitored, they do things because they have to make a living, they have to survive. However, looking at that and their security, what is the trade-off between those, and then how do they mitigate that? So I know with Uber workers, they formed a union, and I think they just won a case recently this year where they are now seen as employees. And I think with those gig economy, they're not really seen as employees, so they don't really have those sort of security. Now, looking now at domestic workers, it's more of nanny cameras, because a lot of domestic workers tend to babysit or deal with the children. So nanny cameras, or CCTV cameras at the home, and how do they feel about being monitored? So it's looking at the concepts of privacy and how can that be mitigated, and what are the things that people are doing to protect themselves, but also how far can employers go in regards to monitoring. And I think when you think about cybersecurity, is this whole thing where they want to protect themselves, right? With CCTV cameras, a lot of employees want to know that their employees are, doing jobs, that they're working. And I think even working from home now, a lot of this productivity tools is to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And it's more of control. I think that's a concept I'm trying to research. But then when you flip on the other side, as an employee and being constantly monitored, how do you feel about that? What impact does that have on your well-being, on how you view yourself, or how you view being safe? Because when we think about the concept of security as a whole, it's a concept of being free from harm. And I guess I try to understand that employer-employee relationship to see, is it harmful? Is it not harmful? But also the technological means in which they use to do that. So whether that's IoT devices, whether that's CCTV cameras, nanny cameras, I'm trying to explore that relationship and to kind of bring more of the social issues. So I was saying my background, for those who might be thinking, well, this is not cybersecurity. It's that, cybersecurity is very broad, and I look at the human aspect of cybersecurity, which is a niche field, but it's looking at the impact of technology on humans. So it's been very, very interesting so far.
Oh, I'm actually incredibly excited. I didn't really think of cybersecurity in applications of smart homes. I didn't actually think of it like that, especially as Internet of Things is growing and how we can use it to make smart homes. So that's actually a really sort of good thing you discussed there. And also the thought that, if you do make your house a smart home, it could be hacked, I guess. And then also we have, like you said, with the employers, I think some employers might require you to download software so that they can watch like your moves on your computer, and then also the idea of nanny cameras as well. So I really like the sort of social aspects of security and cybersecurity and some of the risks that could be associated. I never thought of the sort of domestic violence aspect of it, but as you say, that does sound like something that would cause a problem. So thank you so much for highlighting that. That's really interesting. I think it's good for people who enjoy sort of social issues and they want to look at how technology is being used. So that is fantastic. I would like for you to talk about your journey from high school to where you are now.
Oh, I would say that I have a very interesting career trajectory. It's not your conventional one. So I would say in secondary school, I initially wanted to be an engineer. So I wanted to be an electrical engineer because I love the ideas of like robots designing cars. And my dad and I, when like the TV used to change and the big TV, we no longer used it, he would take it back and then I'll look at all the wires and how, it operated. And I think that definitely gave me an interest in tech, but more of the engineering side. And then in A levels, I did maths, economics, and ICT and physics,
Okay.
and hated physics. Maths, have a love hate relationship, but like decision maths, all those were not my friend. And then I had to think about like what do I want to do, and I loved economics. And I think at that time my economics teachers were really pushing me, like they were buying me books. So I had like this thing called poor economics because they knew that I loved the aspects of like helping people and development economics. So they introduced me to poor economics book, but also to economists such as like Dambisa Moyo. And in Nigeria, I know that we have Ngozi Nguela as well. And seeing these women who looked like me in positions of power, and when I say positions of power, like position where they can actually change things, whether it's policy, it then made me start thinking more about the policy side of things and government and the relationships and how they can improve lives. And then in my second year, I picked up sociology and had to like do AS and A2 in a year, which was incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
But the sociology aspect made me realize that I am actually very much interested in like social issues. And then graduating from my A levels, I went to do economics at my undergrad. And funny enough, I ended up looking at the informal economy. Again, that kind of speaks to my background because my mom had a business where we would travel and then we'll buy things and then we'll sell it to the marketplace. So I was very interested as in how do these women kind of start up businesses and they're able to feed their families and fend them themselves. So after that, I think I had a stroke of luck, and I would
Yeah.
say this is where my trajectory changed. Was in my first year I had the opportunity to work for BBC Africa. So
Nice.
they had this thing called a work experience program, which I will definitely recommend to everyone. And at that time I knew that my grades from A level wasn't the best. So I was like, you know what, if I can't get it through the grades, I have to get it through experience.
Yeah.
So I was applying for so many things, but the BBC one was the one that kind of clicked. And then after I did that, I realized that, how can I help these people? Because I'm not a journalist by nature. And I didn't know how I could be of value. But then I realized that at that time, they were doing a lot of social media stuff.
Yeah.
And prior to that, the summer, I actually had a bit of experience working as a freelance model and PR. So, but working more in like African fashion, because I think at that time it was quite big with people putting African prints on denim. And they had this thing called African Fashion Week. So I was able to kind of get my contacts, putting them with YouTubers, bringing ideas of how they can like improve their social media and kind of connect to a younger audience. And I think they saw what I did then. And then, during the Ebola pandemic, they were thinking about how can they tackle fake news.
Yeah.
And they decided to have these BBC Ebola WhatsApp project where, people will sign up and then they can get, Medical Sans Frontières, UNICEF and WHO to kind of give accurate information of what's going on. So they called me from uni and said, do you want to work on this as like a freelance data and data entry person? I was like, oh my god, yes, I would love to do it.
Yes.
So in my second year, I was going back and forth from Coventry to London, and it was more of like getting the information, sorting out the numbers. So I had this idea that it's best for us to focus on people actually in the zone. So that'll be priority 1. People in the continent will be priority 2. And then if you're outside, it'll be priority 3.
Yeah.
So we can get it to people who need the information the most. And that single experience completely changed my life. I think then no one really cared about what grades I had. It was more of like they saw BBC and it's like, yes. And then every internship I did, although it was like an economic setting, whether it was working in social policy or whatever, they would always move me into technology side. And after I graduated, I then started working in digital transformation. So that was looking at the departments move from paper forms to online forms, and then what are the legal implications of that. And then at that same time, GDPR came out. So it was more of like the data protection around those things. They now called me to do like a review. And then I had to do a risk register. And then I had to then start teaching people about GDPR. And I think that's how I moved into cyber.
Wow.
And then my next role was working on cyber intelligence, but focusing on modern slavery, human trafficking, and online child sexual exploitation. So again, like I said, it's very unconventional. So my role was really looking at cyber intelligence and then creating analytical reports on, this is what I think the government should do, X, Y, and Z. These are the trends we're seeing. And then after that, I decided to move more into local, because I wanted to see, because I was working central government, to see local government. And then that was working more on like smart cities, looking at their 2030 agenda. And that was working more partnerships, but between public, private, academia. How do those relationships come to create technological changes? It was looking at solutions like, how do we tackle, I think it's, I don't know how to say the name, but you know the disease where people lose their memory. I know it's Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Like, how do we use, VR, virtual reality, as a way to kind of combat, or how do we use technology to help the aging population? So that was quite interesting. And working a lot with academia, I realized that I actually miss academia. So I then moved back, and now I'm doing my PhD. So I think it's a long-winded, unconventional way into cybersecurity, I would say.
Wow, honestly, that's an incredible experience. So you went from BBC Africa to studying economics to then helping the BBC do some analysis work, as well as GDPR issues, and then looking at using analytics in terms of modern day slavery and VR and its applications with people who are aging. That is incredible. So what are your future aspirations? What do you plan to do after you finished your PhD?
I think after I finish my PhD, I definitely do want to do more work with SEDIA. We have an ambition of trying to, by 2030, at least get 10,000 women into the industry. So it's all about diversifying, but also, like I said, I'm very interested in labor. So I definitely want to see if I can work with international labor organizations, but more from a digital security perspective, because I think working in that space of modern slavery, human trafficking, and online child sexual exploitation, there's the internet, it's as well, it's great opportunities, but it's also very scary. And I definitely feel like my life mission is not only getting more women in the industry to think about possible solutions to this, but also to focus on how do we help groups that are more vulnerable, and more importantly, how do we reduce the digital literacy gap globally, specifically in Africa and Asia. So long term, that's where my goals align, is to look at digital security, how to protect those who are more vulnerable, but also how to get more women into the industry as well.
That is incredible. Wow, I'm amazed. So how can women sign up to your organization?
So yeah, if you go to our website, sedia.org, we have different
I'll put the link below in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. We have different things. Right now, we have a virtual internship program. So definitely, please, if you're thinking about experience, it's free of charge. Apply to it. And if you want to connect with us, we have a contact page. If you want to collaborate, feel free to reach out to us also.
Lovely. What advice would you give women who are considering a career within cybersecurity?
I think it's understanding that, you belong in cybersecurity. And when I say that, I really mean it. I think a lot of people think that they have to be very technical. This is an industry where you don't need to know how to code to get into cybersecurity, which is a misconception. Cybersecurity has about 10 different domains. Think about your skills, think about the different domains in cybersecurity, and each domain requires different sets of certification. I think this is one of the few industries where you can kind of combat lacking those degrees, masters, by actually getting a certification. And once you've gotten your certification, it's to think about experience. Companies look for their internship, do code calling. Like, don't be afraid to send your CV and say, hey, I'm interested in your company. You know, I really would like to work with you, or some sort of work experience. I'll definitely say focus on medium-sized companies because they are more likely to respond to you. But also feel free to test out your skills on family and friends. You know, everyone has businesses. You know, everyone knows someone who runs a business. So whether it's technical or non-technical aspects of cybersecurity, you know, work for your family and friends to get those experience so that you can then start applying for roles within your field. So I'll probably say those are my advice for those who want to get into cybersecurity.
Well, thank you so much for that. And also, guys, remember to sign up to organization. The links will be in the description below. And yeah, so that brings us to the end of our interview, Stephanie. And I have to say, thank you so much. I think for me, what I found very sort of inspiring is your unconventional journey. I'm very inspired by your work at BBC Africa, but also tackling modern day slavery, and other social issues that affect us, but we may not necessarily be aware of. And your hope in sort of empowering women and using women to help combat these problems. I think the problems that you mentioned, it doesn't really affect us because we don't really know about it. But, you know, as you said, the internet is a scary place, and I can't imagine what sort of things are exposed on there, and the sort of work you want to do to help improve security online, especially for the victims. So yeah, thank you so much for this insightful talk about cybersecurity. I really hope my viewers enjoyed. Please comment down below if you enjoyed this video, and I encourage people, even those who didn't do science, sociology or social sciences, to maybe consider a career within cybersecurity. So thank you again, Stephanie, for talking about your work within cybersecurity. And guys, if you'd like to see more videos like this, then make sure you like, subscribe, share and comment, and I'll be back with more videos. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you so much for having me.
Right, so that's the end of the recording. I can stop recording now.